precisely 1:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. The investigation on 3 distortion Delta variant ends today. Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that Ranil Wickremesinghe submits views on foreign debt and aid without any understanding. New system to direct COVID patients for treatment and manage home quarantine in the Western Province. Measures to enhance bilateral investment relations between Sri Lanka and Philippines. And in world news, Pakistan fences off from Afghan refugees. Now the local news in detail. Dr. Chandima Jivandara of the Sri Jawadanapura University says that the ongoing investigation on the 3 distortion Delta variant will be completed today. It is expected to declare the information in this regard tomorrow and day after tomorrow. He requested the people to follow health guidelines strictly as the distortion variant of the COVID-19 virus are created. UNP parliamentarian Ranil Wickremesinghe points out the need of paying attention on the agreement to provide loans and aid to the government by many countries in the world. He made this remark at a discussion held through social media recently. Explaining views in this regard, Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that Mr. Wickremesinghe has made this comment without proper understanding. He made this remark participating at the Dasa Desin program of the SLBC. He said the foreign reserve, which was at $8.2 billion during the Mahinda Rajapaksa rule, was declined due to bond scam. He also pointed out that although some groups are requesting to close down the country, the economy will collapse. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A giant interest rate for your fixed deposit that you deposit this month. Call 0718 800 999.
Continuing local news. A new procedure has been introduced for triaging COVID-infected patients in the Western Province to direct them to treatment centres and home-based care. The National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreak stated that the new process is implemented with effect from today based on SMS and over-the-phone services. Accordingly, COVID patients in the Western Province are urged to send a text message to the hotline 1904 mentioning their details, including their health condition. They will be classified as patients with breathing difficulties, fever, and patients with such symptoms. Patients are also required to mention their age, national identity card number, and the address in the text message. The NOC-PCO will forward the details sent via SMS to relevant medical teams. After triaging the patients based on these details, the medical teams will contact patients through telephone number 247 and direct them to treatment centres. Required ambulance services and other treatment facilities will be provided for this purpose, the NOC-PCO said further. Meanwhile, patients who will be directed to home-based care will be contacted by a medical team via hotline 1390 and provide them the necessary instructions. 10 political parties have forwarded a special letter to the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa urging him to impose a lockdown in the country for at least 3 weeks. Accordingly, the parties have submitted a proposal to the President consisting of 7 key points. That ends local news. Next up is the main news story.
Now, get your EPF loan information and service details via SMS from HDFC Bank. Wherever you are, being a state and private sector employee, to obtain EPF loan information and service details, just send a SMS mentioning EPF space, name and region to 0718 800 999. HDFC Bank, the bank for your home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The bilateral commercial and investment relations between Philippines and Sri Lanka will be expanded. This program will be implemented in collaboration with the Sri Lanka Embassy Office in Philippines and the VPM Information and Communication Technology Institute of Philippines. Several investment opportunities are to be received by Sri Lanka. The objective is to develop Sri Lanka commercially. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In Watchlight, the Ministry of Health says that a hotline has been introduced for the patients who are suffering from non-communicable disease to get their medicines to their homes. 2 special hotline numbers have been introduced to gain further details in this regard. For Sinhalese, 0720-720-720 and for Tamil, 0720-606060. That came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news follows. The headlines of the world news. Pakistan fences off from Afghan refugees. US President says no American will be left behind. Quake leaves Haiti on its knees as impatience grows over lack of aid. Now the world news in detail. On the surface, it almost looks normal on this part of the Pakistani-Afghan border. But a closer look would show how much things have changed. The tricolour flag of the Republic of Afghanistan has been replaced with a white flag of the Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan, and in place of Afghan border security forces now stand gun-holding bearded Taliban militants. They are now in control of Tokhom, the busiest crossing with Pakistan. A few days back, hundreds of panicked Afghan civilians gathered here for days, desperate for a way out. President Joe Biden has said U.S. troops may stay in Afghanistan beyond his withdrawal deadline as armed Taliban fighters kept desperate evacuees from reaching Kabul's airport. Mr. Biden wants U.S. forces out by the end of this month, but up to 15,000 U.S. citizens are stranded in the country. The U.S. president told ABC News the turmoil in Kabul was unavoidable. Foreign governments are ramping up the airlift of Western citizens and Afghans who worked with them. A magnitude 7.2 earthquake that has killed more than 2,000 people has left Haiti on its knees, Prime Minister Ariel Henry said, as survivors showed increasing frustration about the sluggish arrival of relief in hard-hit areas. Henry has promised a rapid increase in aid, but in a video address last evening, he considered that the Caribbean nation was in trouble. Haiti is now on its knees, Henry said. The earthquake was devastated a large part of the south of the country, proves once again their limits and how fragile they are. That ends world news. Prior to concluding the headlines of the world news once again, Pakistan fences off from Afghan refugees. U.S. President says no American will be left behind. Quake leaves Haiti on its knees as impatience grows over lack of aid. With that, we conclude the world news. Next up is the development news.
Development News is brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melba RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melba RB500, #1 in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
CIB Janajay Vasana creates more and more 100,000 rupee winners every second. Valuable gifts for your bills till 31st August. Win amazing hand tractors for your over 3,000 rupees bills at the monthly draw. CIB.
Galle District Planning Secretariat Office says that construction work of 5 projects implemented in the Galle District has now been completed. These projects have been initiated under the guidance of the Saubhagya program of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and 138 projects are to be implemented in the district. That was development news. Next up is the sports news.
Development News was brought to you by
Quality matters than price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melba RB 500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melba RB 500. Number 1 in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
CIB Janajay Vasana creates more and more 100,000 rupee winners every second. Valuable gifts for your bills till 31st August. Win amazing hand tractors for your over 3,000 rupees bills at the monthly draw. CIB.
In sports news, Sri Lanka Paralympic team will leave the country for Japan tonight. The tournament will begin in Tokyo on 24th of this month. 9 players are comprised with the Sri Lankan team. The captain of the team is Dinesh Priyantha, who received the bronze medal at the 2016 Rio Olympic Sports Festival. Sri Lanka will represent 4 sporting events. That was the sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The agricultural sector of the David Peary's company groups has exported the first stock of their products to Russia. Accordingly, stocks of mango, banana and pineapple have been exported. That ends Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Savings account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
The Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to increase the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate of the central bank by 50 basis points each to 5% and 6% respectively. The decision was taken at a meeting held yesterday, the central bank said in a statement. These decisions were made with a view to addressing the imbalances on the external sector of the economy and to preempt the build-up of any excess inflationary pressures over the medium term amidst improved growth prospects. That ends Economic News.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Finally, it's a look at the weather report. The Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in Western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in Galle, Mathura, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in Ampara and Batticaloa districts after 2 p.m. Fairly strong winds up to 40 to 50 kilometers per hour at times can be expected in northern and north central provinces and in Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. That was the weather report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. The investigation on 3 distortion Delta variant ends today. Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that Ranil Wickramasinghe submits views on foreign debt and aid without any understanding. new system to direct COVID patients for treatment and manage home quarantine in the Western Province. Measures to enhance bilateral investment relations between Sri Lanka and Philippines.